So for a while I have wanted to go back and play through the older versions of Terraria. Now about a year ago, for April Fool's 2024, they made this possible. With the new Underlux edition, you can go back and play one of Terraria's oldest versions, 1.0.6. So that's what I did. I played through Terraria 1.0 and tried to find as much old stuff that isn't in the game anymore. Now if you do come across this and you do end up enjoying, please subscribe as it helps out a lot. So the first thing that we come across is the old character customization thing. Yeah, it's quite a lot different to how it is now. As you can see here, with all the colours and all that, it's quite a lot harder to do because you have to like do it on a number slider, so you can't. It's kind of hard to like decide, or find the colour that you want. But eventually, I do make something good enough. Name my character John, and then I go create a new world. Make it a small world, and then 1.0 in 2025, and then create the world. And back then there was no other difficulties, it was just classic as we know it as now. But yeah, here's the world. This is where I spawned in. Anyways, I started off doing what anyone would do in a normal playthrough, even now 1.4. I started off by chopping a tree, and then once I had chopped enough trees down, I would then go and start building my starter base. Back in 1.0, you had to break wood with an axe instead of a pickaxe, and it would be like this in 1.1 as well, so they didn't change it to a pickaxe until 1.2. Now, in my opinion, I think it does make more sense to break wood with an axe, so I don't really know why they changed this. You couldn't place out of your inventory, so when I went to place a workbench down, I kept on throwing it on the floor, which is annoying. I'm pretty sure they added placing stuff out of your inventory of 1.1. I then went to go mine the iron over here, and also not having block swap was kind of annoying. You had to mine it manually with just a pickaxe and then place the blocks. Block swap was added in 1.4. Now since there was no smart cursor, it was a bit more annoying to build walls. Now in 1.4, you would just click control, it would put on smart cursor, you'd point your cursor in the direction you wanted your walls and it would automatically, pretty much automatically fill it up. Back then, you had to do it all manually, you had to put your cursor where you wanted the walls, so it was a bit more, annoying. Anyways, I would eventually end up finishing my house. After I had finished my house, I then went to explore a bit of the right side. I eventually found my jungle on the right side of the world. I wasn't strong enough to go explore it though. I left and then rejoined to get back to my base, and since it was night time, I would stay at my base until the night was over. After night was over, I then went to explore the left side. I found a desert, and in 1.0, walking by a cactus would damage you, which made getting through the desert a bit more annoying. And there was a corruption not far left as well, so I went back, and because there was no naturally spawning caves, I decided I was going to make a elevator, hoping to find some caves while digging down. I then came across this. It's pretty small, but then I found some gems, but these don't really do much. You can't craft much out of them. You can just sell them. And then I found a chest, and I had an angel statue in which it doesn't do anything. You can't even place it. I think this was meant to be like a clown in a bottle back then. But yeah, these just spawn in golden chests. They don't do anything. You can't even place them. The chest wasn't all useless though. I did find some bombs in there, and I went exploding down to get a bit farther, and I did end up finding another cave. I then found and mined some silver ore, found a mushroom biome, and right by that had my first death to a couple of yellow slimes. Right next to where I died there was a heart crystal, so I then came back to collect that. And back then you would use a hammer instead of a pickaxe to collect heart crystals. This was changed in 1.2. I then found a chest which didn't have a lot in. I then went to the mushroom biome, which in 1.0 was a lot darker, a lot smaller, didn't have as much loot in. Right next to that mushroom biome up there was another mushroom biome. Then went mining some more ores, and in my next chest I found a suspicious looking eye, which would come in handy when I wanted to fight the Eye of Cthulhu. I ended up finding quite a bit of gold, some silver, and then some even more gold. I then went back to my base to upgrade on some things, smelted some bars, made some tools and armor, and a grappling hook with all them. And then I went back in the caves, had an easier time killing things with all my new gear. And then I found some more ores. Then I found another life crystal, then another one, and right by that was another life crystal. And then I found a fourth one in this mining trip, went to mine some more ores, and then I went down to the 1.0 hell, but then I left quickly because I knew I wasn't prepared enough. Once I had got home, I used the life crystals that I found, and then I crafted some armor with all the ores that I gathered underground, and then after that I built an arena so I could fight the Eye of Cthulhu, and then it was time to fight him. There you are. The fight did take quite a while, but eventually I did manage to kill him. Get out of it, bro. That arena was so small, but we did it. Once that had been done, I used the demonite that the Eye of Cthulhu dropped to make a Light's Bane, which was an upgrade to my gold broadsword, and was also a part of the Night's Edge, which is something I wanted in this playthrough as well. Then I went to travel more of the left side of the world. I went through the corruption, and then I eventually found my dungeon, which is where the final boss was. After that I went to the right side to go to the jungle, and I wanted to go underground to get some stingers, but then I died because I got attacked by 3 hornets, and even though there's a stinger around the floor there, I died too quickly so I couldn't get it in time. After that though, I went and started extending my base a little bit. I added some houses to the end of the platforms, and I also built a greenhouse, which I wouldn't really put anything in because I couldn't find any clay to make any pots out of, so I couldn't really plant anything. But it was just there and it looked good, I guess. After searching the underground for a little bit, I found a chest containing some Hermes boots. Now these were the accessory I was looking for the most, so I was lucky enough to find them pretty easily. While I was placing some walls down, the Dryad had moved in, which I needed for the purification powder, because bombs didn't break Ebonstone back then, so I was going to have to use this to get to the Shadow Orbs. Then I filled out all the walls on the greenhouse. I used stone walls instead of glass walls because glass walls didn't exist yet. Then I went to the underground corruption because I wanted to fight the Eater of Worlds, so using the purification powder that I got from the Dryad, I went to smash some demon orbs. And then it was time to fight the Eater of Worlds. Here we go. Come on, bro, you're nearly dead. There you go. I've done it. Now that Eater of Worlds is killed, I used what it dropped to make a Nightmare Pickaxe and some Shadow Greaves. It didn't really drop enough for the full set of armor. I went to the jungle because I wanted to get the Blade of Grass, but right by the cave entrance, the meteorite was right there. I was gonna mine all of it, but I only managed to mine a little bit because it said that a blood moon was rising, so I decided to go in the caves now and then come back and mine it all later. I had to fight some man-eaters while I was down there, and in 1.0 they were so annoying to fight. Like, they had so much health and they did a lot of damage, just made getting through the jungle a bit more annoying. Anyways, I came to the jungle for the Blade of Grass, which back in Terraria 1.0 costed 20 stingers, 20 jungle spores and a silver broadsword, so it's quite a lot more expensive back then. But I eventually found a jungle hut which had an anklet with the wind in, and it took a very long time, but I eventually did get everything I needed for the blade of grass. And then with everything I got from the jungle and a silver world sword, I made the blade of grass. I then went back to the jungle to mine the rest of the meteorite that I'd landed. And with that meteorite I crafted a lightsaber. Then I went in the caves because I wanted to get some obsidian, because I wanted to get some hellstone later on. I went looking for the rest of the life crystals I needed, so I went mining left. Then I found 3 life crystals on the left side. Then I went mining right, and then I found the remaining 3 which I needed to get 400 health. Then I decided I was ready enough to go and explore a bit of hell, where there is like no background whatsoever in this version. Then I killed the Cthulhu again for the last bit of money I needed to buy the mini shop. I came back to hell to get some hellstone, and why is the guide voodoo demons in Terraria 1.0? I don't know. I kept on getting attacked by fire imps and bone serpents, which was really annoying. Eventually I got what I thought was enough hellstone and then went to the molten forge above me to craft them into hellstone bars. But as it turns out, I was so far off. Why was molten armor so expensive back then? I don't know. So I used the hellstone bars that I got from the underworld to make a fiery greatsword, since I did want to get a Knight's Edge, and I just completely gave up on getting molten armor. I wanted some shadow armor, so I went to the corruption by my dungeon since there was no more shadow orbs in the other corruption. Why did I get killed by the dungeon guardian? I killed the Eater of Worlds again, and then I made the full set of the shadow armor. Then I decided it was finally time to take on the final boss at this point, Skeletron, so I made an arena, and then it was time to fight him. Here you go. Let's get the hands out of the way first. Got one hand off. Here we go. It's just me and you now. Dead. And just like that, the game is now finished. But it wasn't all over yet, as I still wanted to get the Knight's Edge. I wanted to find some Sky Islands, and I also wanted to fight the King Slime, so I still had a bit to do. The only thing I wanted from this dungeon was a Muramasa. The first chest had a magic missile, the second chest had another magic missile, the third chest had a shadow key, the fourth chest had a handgun, the fifth chest had an aqua scepter, and the sixth chest finally had a Muramasa. Why did this take so many chests, bro? What? I had finally got all the swords I needed, so I finally crafted the Knight's Edge. Yo, if you made it this far in the video, you've got to rate the drip, man. Anyways, I decided I wanted to make my base look a lot nicer before I went for King Slime. And yeah, this is how it turned out. I was pretty happy with it, to be honest. The next thing I wanted to do was find some Sky Islands. So what I wanted to do was make this tower so I could find some harpies to get the feathers to make some gravitation potions. But it turns out in this update of Terraria, harpies only spawn in the outer thirds of the map. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time for nothing. Now knowing that harpies can only spawn in the outer thirds of the map, I went to the right side, right by the beach, and made a massive tower out of ash. And eventually some did spawn, and I did get some feathers luckily. So in Terraria 1.0 there was no King Slime summon. The only way to summon King Slime was have him spawn naturally in the outer thirds of the map, with a 1 in 300 chance of him spawning in every slime. So I decided, since I was already in the outer thirds, I might just wait for him. I wouldn't be spending that long, right? Right? I ended up staying there for an entire 2 hours before the goblin army's approaching. Completely forgot that existed in this update, but okay. Anyways, they ended up arriving, and honestly, the goblin army is not even much different to it as it is now. The only things that are really different is the resprites that they added in 1.3, the hard mode variant they also added in 1.3, and the music. Oh, and also the fact that it spawns a goblin tinkerer. But other than that, there's not really much else that's different. It's kind of the same fight, in 1.0 some of the goblins would drop like rocket boots and all that. But yeah, that's what I got to really say about the goblin army. I ended up defeating the goblin army, and then after that I decided to go back to the ocean to wait for the king's line, which I'll then spend another 2 hours at with it not spawning before I just gave up and came off for the day. I then came back on the next day and waited an entire another 2 hours before this happened. Oh my god! He's here! Finally! You can't die to this now. But I'm literally exclusively using the Knight's Edge because this is what I wanted to use it on. What are you doing, bro? Come on. Come on. 1-on-1 right now. So I thought. And now that was done, there was just one thing I had to do. Find a sky island. But before I would do that, I made a special chest for King Slime to show that I killed him. Anyways, I made some gravitation potions, and there was no sky islands on the right side for some reason, but on the left side I found one pretty quickly, and the chest had a star theory. And yeah, I honestly prefer these old sky islands. You know, you can say I'm blinded by nostalgia all you want, but I generally think these look better. Anyways, I decided to go looking a bit more, and not that far from this one I find another one, and the chest in this one had a shiny red balloon. I decided to make a platform going from one island to the other just because why not. I made another tower, but this one went up to the Sky Islands. And that is it. I have done everything I wanted to do in Terraria 1.0, and I've got to say, even without all the new stuff 1.4 has to offer, I still had a great time playing through this version. This is where Terraria started, and it's still a great game after 14 years. Anyways, that's it. I'll play through Terraria 1.1 soon, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, see you in a bit.